Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Rutherford, certified functional medicine practitioner and chiropractor.
Dr. Randall Gates, board certified chiropractic neurologist, also a chiropractor.
And this is Keys to Success number 111, the upcoming food season and gluten. 111 ways to stay better, get better and stay better. We want you to stay better. And last week we did a popular one, apparently, got a lot of feedback on how you can cheat on the holidays and the psychology of giving you a break now and then. And I think it's a wise thing to do. However, we're going to kind of do a what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of an addendum to last week, or a clarification to last week. Now, I know Dr. Gates said gluten is out. He didn't say go do gluten, okay? So we just thought we'd follow up with a clarification and a little bit more data on gluten and the upcoming food season. Gluten's in a category by itself. It was made fun of a lot when we first started doing this years and years ago, like 9 years ago or something like that. And I know it was made fun of before that, before I got into it, and ultimately Dr. Gates got into it. But it turns out there's a reason for that. It turns out that although there's a lot of I don't know if there's as much controversy out there as there used to be, but although there's a lot of different takes on why gluten is a problem, it's a problem. And so it is the one thing that really maybe requires some specific commentary and clarity. So gluten and the holidays and why that should not be part of your partying.
Mm-hmm. So most of you don't realize this is the toughest time of year to get better. So most of our patients have autoimmune conditions. With autoimmune conditions, people tend to have a tendency when they get sick to not do as well. So now we're in the midst of cold and flu season. Now we have the holidays. And this is the nightmare we ran into, like Dr. Rutherford was saying when we first got into this, because then people are going off their diets, they're sick. And it really makes it a challenge when we're trying to get people better in the stress of the holidays. So you need to know the studies on gluten. And I've cited this before, but just as a reminder, the world's foremost researcher on gluten, Dr. Fasano, he's a gastroenterologist. He was at Mass General, which is basically the hospital for Harvard. And he studied normal individuals. He studied celiac patients. He studied people with gluten intolerance, like most of you. And he had them all eat 2 pieces of bread. And then he went in 2 hours later and looked at their intestines. And he saw that gluten served as a poison for everyone's intestines as to where it broke down the proteins that keep each intestinal cell together. And this was in normal individuals and celiac patients and people who react to gluten. So gluten's a bad entity for, you can argue, for everyone, but definitely for all of our patients. And so that's why we're so adamant that you don't consume it, because it can stay in your system for a long period of time as well. And if you have an autoimmune disorder, now you just completely inflamed your autoimmune disorder, most likely, if you have gluten. And it just takes a lot more work, and it may prolong treatments for your program. So that's why we may seem, a little alarmist about this, but it's for good reason, because we want you to get better and stay better. So that's why we gave you the gluten-free extravaganza last week that you can utilize on a couple of your favorite holidays preemptively, so that you don't kind of go off the rails.
Yeah, and I don't think it's overstating the issue that the reason is it goes in, it breaks those proteins down. Those proteins are located in the one cell. Actually, they're preventing that, but the one cell thick layer of the intestines that has to be affected also to break down those proteins. That's where the now infamous 70% of your immune system is. So if you're an autoimmune patient, which 97% of our patients are, gluten is going to wreak havoc.
Yeah.
It might wreak a little havoc to where you go, well, I didn't feel very much. But yeah, brain fog and depression.
Yeah, my joints hurt.
And your joints hurt. Or it may just go full-blown havoc, but it is going to negatively affect you, and it could affect you for days or weeks. And that's another thing. People will go, well, I ate it 3 days ago. It shouldn't be bothering me. And it's like, No, it could be bothering you for a couple of weeks, depending on the damage in your gut and the severity of your reaction.
Yep, 100%. So I think that hits it.
Okay.
So we'll see you next week. Stay away from gluten and have a good weekend.